Hi, Bobby here. If you're watching the video version, there's gonna be some issues. So I don't know what happened. But my camera footage, I guess, got corrupted of some kind. I really don't know how, and I don't know why. But it did. And I had to go through when I was editing and try to match all of the video with the audio again because it would just go out of sync at random points in time. Now, on my Premiere timeline, it looks fine. However, every time I export, there's certain moments that don't. I don't know how to fix this. And at this point, it's probably not worth doing so at the moment. So I apologize. That's probably going to happen as you're watching the video. If you don't, then I guess I fixed it. But I'm just warning you now. There might be some points where I go out of sync, maybe for long periods of time. Just try to ignore it best you can. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hopefully it won't happen next time. I'm looking into why it happened and figuring out how I can prevent it from happening again. But otherwise, enjoy the show. See you next time.
Hi guys, it's Fana and this is Bobby, and welcome to the Gremlin's Lair.
Welcome back, children.
Yeah, I thought we already confirmed that the lair is not creepy. It's like happy and sparkly because Grumble deserves the best.
I mean, we can say that, but I think truthfully, it's actually like this just torture chamber of just terrible.
Does Grumble have a dark side?
I love to believe that Grumble actually has this secret dark side that he just wants to tell nobody about. Maybe one day he'll open up.
Wait, the Halloween episode will have like dark Grumble. Ooh. His evil twin. His evil, like, how are Grumbles? Like, I was thinking he's a dragon. He's not a dragon. I was like, it's his egg mate or whatever.
You know what? We should make it like Demon Grumble. So kind of like, think of just like give him like
like Gremlins the movie.
Yeah, like give them like red eyes, and then, you know, maybe the green skin color changes into something like darker, like grayish, yeah.
And what is it? Spike had like the sunglasses and like the mohawk.
Yeah. Ooh, we could change the microphone to like a jack-o'-lantern or something like that. So here we go. Yeah. We're already planning our Halloween special. Look at that.
Like, okay, but does Grumble become Grimble, or does Grumble Grumble's?
What? You lost me. What are you saying?
is evil Grumble, or is evil Grumble like Grumble's sibling?
I think it's so if we're going off that Grumble, or is that has a dark
for the
side,
fans to decide?
If it's gonna be Grumble's dark side, then I think it has to be them, and it has to be like, just spell his name backwards. How would you say Grumble's name backwards?
I'm not doing that right now. I'm not doing that right now.
Why?
But I don't know, because I feel like Grumble, since Grumble is supposed to be like the inner creativity of all of us, like our inner creative gremlin or whatever, like I feel like almost like Sandersides, where Thomas Sanders has like a different persona for each aspect of his personality. I feel like Grumble should be, there should be multiple Grumbles. That's what we're going to do. There's going to be a Grumble for every different type of creativity.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think the dark Grumble makes sense because we have to acknowledge that a lot of art, especially mine, comes from a darker place that is not so happily and sparkly sometimes.
All right, this is going to be the whole merch line. There's going to be a pin set of all the Grumbles.
I just can't wait for the plushie.
The plushie. You know, I thought about that before we started this. I was like, man, I do have the skills that I could make a Grumble for us.
Yeah.
Like, not to mass produce, but like I could make one.
You could. You definitely could do it.
Honestly, I believe you could. That dragon Pusheen that I have, I probably could modify.
Listen to me. No, I bought that for you. Don't you dare take a knife to it.
It took 2.5 years, but I got it. and it's near
Has
and
it
dear
honestly
to me.
been around that long? Because I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty recent.
Dragon Sheen came out very soon after we started dating, but right before, and I wasn't even heavily hinting. I was flat out telling you
Buy
I
this
want
for
it,
me.
and you're like, nah.
Yeah, it took a while. I had to play like the long con, you know. I had to wait for the opportune moment.
Well, and there were so many times that I almost bought him, and I was like, no, or she. And I was like, no, because Bobby will someday take my hints. Fulfill my demands.
I caught on. Took me a while, but I caught on. Did I get that for you on your past birthday, or that was Christmas?
So.
Or was that Christmas? I can't remember.
No, because I got the Vampire.
That's right.
Christmas.
You got the Vampire because
from
your
my
mother.
Parents, yeah. Yes. And then you got me Dragon Sheen for.
That's right. Yeah, and then your anniversary gift died.
Never happened.
Along with the rest of the world. Yeah. I was in the process of getting a thing that I still haven't even did I tell you or did I not tell you?
No, you still didn't tell me.
Okay, still haven't told you. Good. All right, so I was going to get her.
You say good like I'm eventually gonna get it.
That you are. That required work. And I was talking to a place near my college, which my college, or I say our college, is 2 hours away from where I actually live in my hometown in South Jersey. And there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of miscommunication already because this person was confused on how payment was going to happen, which they never expressed to me, but that's fine. I was still going to go through it there. Right when I was about to pull the trigger, have them make it ready after some negotiation and whatever, and showing how it would look on different things, COVID struck and I had to go home and I never went back. So safe to say that never ended up happening.
This is very fine and dandy, except for the shutdown was in March and our anniversary was in January.
Yes. Well, I should also mention that there was personal stuff that I was dealing with at the time that also kind of delayed things. Which is why I got delayed in the first place. So then in February was when everything started. But again, I had a bit of communication problems with this person for a little while, and that kind of slowed things down. And that led to even more trouble for me. And then the shutdown happened, and it was too late at that point, which I felt bad about and apologized numerous times. But I don't think she truly forgives me.
Nah, I forgive you. I forgive you, but I'm not gonna let it go.
Well, that's why you're still gonna get it, which is why I'm surprised you thought that you weren't gonna still get it.
I think that I'm going to get it, like the thing. I just don't think it's gonna be for that anniversary. It's going to be for
I don't want to wait. I mean, I'm running out of time because it is August, so I should get back into it soon, but I don't know when. I'm counting that still as that anniversary's gift. So there's still that IOU in place. I'm still getting you something else for our next one, which is in 5 months.
If you start planning now.
The specific place that I needed, I gotta see if there's one like that open near me, which was a bit of an issue at the time. So
I would offer to help, but I have no idea. So
or I just find somebody on Etsy, which might be a good option, but it's just I didn't want it to be shipped like that. Although usually I've gotten stuff from Etsy before and it's been fine. I tried.
Gift that I could get is you.
Oh my god, she's saying that through gritted teeth and she doesn't actually mean any single word of that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I like you, okay.
You like me enough to do a podcast with me, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's and only
use me for content.
It's episode 1.
This is our real first episode. If you want to go watch episode 0, as we're calling it, where we just kind of discuss what we're planning on doing with this show, you definitely feel free to go back and watch that first if you haven't watched already. But this is our really first proof of concept episode, maybe is what we'll call this, just to see if we can actually do it, because truthfully we're prepared for this, but we're not at the same time, so we got to see if we like this or not. We don't know if this is ever going to see the light of day or not.
This as this relationship?
No, this episode project? No, I like to think this relationship will last from here and then to the beyond.
I don't know.
But
People are asking about me at my new job. They're like, "So you have a boyfriend?" I'm like,
oh,
"Yeah."
God.
And they're like, "Tell us more." I'm like,
You did not get to tell us more questions today, did you really?
I did. I got a little bit
He's a
into it.
failing filmmaker who can't find a job
That's not true.
and
That's not true.
is dumb and is stubborn.
No, she
and-
flat out. She's like, "Do you have a picture?" I was like, "Here you go."
What was my rating?
She's a grandma. I don't know. I think she thought you were cute. Yeah,
Okay.
she's like, "Oh."
I thought, oh,
It was the one from your birthday where you look kind of like. I think you look adorable, but people always say that you look pissed off.
I was tired, but I was.
Yeah, it was the one with your cheesecake.
Yeah, where I was like kind of.
Yeah, like they're like, he
yeah.
looks thrilled. And she did say that.
Like
She's
my
like,
hand
he
on my
looks
face.
thrilled to be there. And I was like, I think he
I was
looks
exhausted, but I
adorable.
know I was happy. The cheese. Anytime, I just finished your cheesecake yesterday. But you made me
That
another
lasted
one.
a couple days.
It did. I ate the one slice.
Did you forget about it?
I forgot about the last slice. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
wait.
okay.
I'm like, oh wait, I have one more slice of this left. Sweet. Just to make me my special cheesecake so my tummy don't hurt very much. And it's very, very good. I love cheesecake. So we're due for a Cheesecake Factory trip at some point down the line.
We're due for any kind of
better.
date
I know.
at this point.
Oh, we'll do this off air. My sister was asking about one of those, by the way. So
One of what?
well, you know, our annual trip that we have made to a beach location.
I was
asking
actually
if that was a possibility.
thinking about that, but I kind of just wanted to be you and Nick.
Fair.
So,
Yeah,
nothing against your sister.
Well, the
but
issue though is she's probably on. Well, she might be on a timeline. We'll see. She might be on a tight schedule because her semester starts in a few weeks, and at the moment she's going in. But we'll have to see what her university decides in terms of how they're going to play this whole thing out. So,
we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll do that's off air thing. But while I'm thinking about it, anyhow, we should probably talk about something semi-productive, maybe.
Let people get to know us a little bit. You know.
Yeah, sure. I think if this episode premieres on your channel as well, at least some of your people will be familiar with me.
Yeah.
But they don't know the real me. They don't know what's inside.
Well, and since a lot of this podcast is supposed to be about our creativeness, our creative processes, I feel like a good place to start for episode 1 is about how we chose our professions.
I fell and never got back up. That's the basic of it.
Yeah.
But yes, how we decided to, you know what, screw any stability or accounting job and just living a simple life. No, we have to be artists. We have to be trying to claw the next creative project. Make it hard for ourselves, you know?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. So I don't know. Do you want to start? Do you want me to go or?
I mean, I could start, I guess. You're kind of the main event. You're kind of the living example of how you can get yourself into where you're at. You've taken advantage of a ton of opportunities over time, so I think you're definitely gonna sound a lot better than I am.
That's not true.
I think so, but anywho, so for those who don't know, I'm a filmmaker by trade and mainly an editor. But I've done everything at this point. I have edited, I have directed, I have been a director of photography. I've been a production assistant on various different sets. I've done audio mixing, audio recording, grip, electric, gaffing, everything. I've done everything. I have done it all. Script supervising. I fell into it completely by accident. But it started, well, I should say the seed was planted be the summer before my 7th grade year, where I'm a big sports guy, and I'm a Phillies fan. And I had I actually, you know what? I have hold on, I actually have a relic show here. But, so I had this camera, the Samsung SL605 digital camera, and you look at it and it is 100% not much. I don't even know. There's no way this turns on, right? Yeah. Okay. So this camera's probably 11 years old at this point. When I was growing up, my mom loves to take pictures of everything. And she would have a digital camera such like this, and I wanted one when I graduated my 6th grade year and started to go into middle school, so they got me this. So I went to a Phillies game and I took this. And I was sat in the 3rd deck behind home plate. Pretty good seats. And what ended up happening was I recorded a walk-off home run to win the game from Jason Worth, who was on the Phillies at the time. And I was so proud of capturing that moment that I uploaded it to, I had to get my parents' permission, but I uploaded it to YouTube. So that would have been 2010.
Did you instantly become a viral success?
No, but I still got a few hundred views off of that at the time.
All right, look at you.
So 12, 13-year-old me is like, holy crap. Like,
I could make it.
This is cool. This is fun. So I decided, I'm going to basically, I fell into YouTube like around that time and just started watching channels. And, I can't remember who I really started watching first. I can remember my first like real YouTube addictions were like Ray William Johnson and Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, who I'm still fans of to this day. Among others, a lot of the classic YouTube stars, Shane Dawson, who having some issues at the moment from what I hear. I don't really follow him much anymore, but Ray William Johnson, trying to think. It's been a while, but so that was around the time where I came into it. So I started making really crappy YouTube videos. I don't know how many of them are still alive on the platform, but they might be.
Well, didn't you kill your channel at some point?
I killed a channel, but it was not the channel. I'll get to that in a second. So I never thought, because at the time, being a full-time YouTuber wasn't quite viable yet.
Yeah.
Like it was there, I think around that time, 2010-ish.
But the OGs like Smosh and like PewDiePie, like that kind of stuff were around.
Yeah, the OGs were, especially Smosh is another good example. They were starting to become that career path. So it never even crossed my mind that it would be a possibility. So I made a bunch of videos. I remember I made the second video I made, I used Picasa 3, which was made by Google, which is a photo editing software, but I figured I found out had video editing capabilities somewhat. And I remember I took like again on this camera, a video of there was like a big like wolf moon, whatever they call it, the big ones, super moons. Took that one and tried to add some stuff to it. And then no other video really got views at that point, but it was like random stupid stuff. I tried to make a video talking about the Flyers, and I did it in the style of a Ray William Johnson equals 3 video, which is probably so cringy to look at now. So yeah, I remember I made a video on Just Cause 2, which was a big video game at the time, yada yada, right? So that led me on a series, and to this day, still various YouTube projects that have kind of come and gone. My most successful of that was a channel called Tonic Tech, which was a tech channel that I did where it focused on like just tech, right? So everything from microphones and hardware to I did a lot of software like screencasting, like demoing different pieces of software. I had about
So was it a review or
a bit of both? So like
or a tutorial channel?
I did reviews, but I think my best viewed videos were a bunch of tutorials. There was my most viewed video, which got like 1.5K views at the time. The tech space wasn't as quite diluted. You had your players already in there, like Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD, Linus, I think, was making videos by that point. Snazzy Q. But like I thought I saw a lot of people like reviewing gear, and I was a kid, so getting gear wasn't easy for me because money. But I realized that my knowledge of, you know, software and how it interacts with Windows 7 systems and everything was decent enough for me to talk about. I also did a series called Web Wednesday where I would show off different websites that I found particularly interesting. So I did that for a while. That channel ended with about 200 subs, but it had over 100,000 video views. Oh, and I didn't say, the video that had 1.5K views was a video for a software called EasyBCD, which I remember some guy emailed me and wanted me to review that, and I never authenticated who that person actually was. I remember, like, I don't know if they made the software, I don't know if they just gave me some weird illegal copy and were trying to pin something on me, but I did, when they sent me the link to download, I did check it out, and from my understanding, it was legit because it came from the manufacturer's website still, so I don't think anything was wrong. I really have no idea what his motives were. I was just happy that somebody found me and wanted me to review it or do a tutorial. I actually got mad about that video because I called it a tutorial, although I really don't think I showcased as its full capabilities. I think I did like a walkthrough on where to find everything, but I called it a tutorial, and people blasted me in the comments about it. And I actually remember posting a comment like, "Everybody stop! I'm sorry that it. I forget what I said. I'm like, I'm sorry I renamed that. I renamed the video just to make it a little easier for you people. Yada yada. I got pissed off.
Well, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I see that even nowadays, probably worse than it was back then.
Yeah, and to their credit though, like I definitely didn't show off what that piece of software really is helpful for. I think my understanding, if I remember correctly, it's to help you partition your computer, which is a big processing deal. Like that's, people do that all the time, and I don't think I showed it off. I think I just showed people where to find things, even though I didn't quite know exactly what partitioning meant at the time. I know now, but I didn't then, so it was just interesting. But that was like my most viewed video, and I had a couple people who still follow me on my Twitter who are from that community. I don't even know how active they are anymore, but I know they still follow my current Twitter account from that time period. But so yeah, I was doing like various YouTube things. I had like a gaming one with friends that I was trying to do, a la Rooster Teeth or Achievement Hunter, and you know, a bunch of other ones. I had like an NHL show where me and my buddy Tyler, who I'm doing a project with currently.
So these were all separate channels.
Oh yeah. I probably have access to most of them if I could just
see.
Find
and I've always only had one.
Yeah. Well, what would happen was like I got addicted to YouTube and YouTube creating, and I wanted to start a project, and I got a couple people hooked. So I got my my buddy Tyler hooked, and me and him have done various projects ever since. And he still wants to make something of it, so he's been like the one motivating partner. But like I had like a gaming group that we were gonna do videos together, and each do different types of videos, and that lasted for a little bit, but then people fell off instantly and didn't really want to take it as seriously as I did, which, you know, is fine. I don't, you know, whatever. I was the only one who was like exploring all video capabilities and how everything works, and that's where I kind of began teaching myself how video works, but still not at that point considering it a career. It wasn't until I got into high school, sophomore year, no, it was my sophomore year. So I was playing out for a while. I didn't know what I was going to do at the time, right? I wasn't even thinking about it. For a while, I wanted to be a hockey player, professional hockey player in the NHL. But it became apparent in high school that I wasn't very good. I wasn't playing enough. There was no way I was gonna make it. It's fine, right? But I was playing basketball in high school. So I played freshman year. Sophomore year, I got hurt. I hurt my back and was done for the season before it even started. So I needed something to pass the time, really, or something to get involved in, because I was kind of wearing a back brace and I was all messed up from this. But so I had a friend at the time named Greg who wanted me to come to the AV club because he was in it, and he was in it since middle school, and he wanted me to just stop by to see what it was like, because he heard that I was just making YouTube videos and stuff like that, which I was embarrassed when people found my YouTube videos, by the way. I hated when they found it.
Oh, I still hate it when people in
Oh
my
my
private
God.
life like find Fantasy
Yeah.
Finder as
Yeah.
an entity and like or share and stuff. Even like my close friends, I for some reason I hate it. I
Yeah.
mean, you yourself always are like, why don't you tell people about this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, like in school especially, like I just was afraid of getting teased. I wasn't bullied in school, but I was definitely teased about different things that I did. It's fine. I don't care. I don't never affected me. But it definitely, like, I was kind of like living the secret YouTuber life where I
Yeah.
didn't want anybody to find out, you know. So
Now,
he knew, and he
what
was,
is an AV club for people who might not know?
oh yeah, sure. I guess so. At least it varies by school on what exactly they do, but the idea is they mainly handle if you have video announcements in your school, they're usually the ones producing it, doing the filming, working with computers, doing a lot of tech, and there's usually an AV instructor of some kind, who um, who will usually, mentor kids who want to join in, and will show them different things. My school's was pretty involved. We did the morning announcements video, broadcasted throughout the school, had camera switchers and broadcast boards, audio mixers. Like, we were decked out. We even upgraded to full HD right before I left to go to college. But you know, so we did that, and we would film all the plays. So, we'd have 3 camera people, and we'd have directors and audio people, and etc. And we actually produce our own show. We would have a show at the end of the year where it was like a male talent competition. My school was called Gateway High School, so it would be called Mr. Gateway. So we do a lot. We do a lot. It's a very involved club. So he heard I was, creating stuff, and he's like, "Dude, just come to one meeting. Just come to one meeting. Like, you'll. This is the stuff you want to do." And at the time, I'm like, "All right, look, I got nothing better to do. I'm hurt. I'm not doing anything after school. Screw it. Let's go." So I go, and immediately, I'm in, and I started. First of all, my mentor in the AV club, he hates his name being mentioned, so I will refrain from doing so here. But let's just say he is one of the biggest influences on my life and what I've become.
You
One of
think
the
he knows
realest.
that?
I try to tell him every day, or anytime I talk to him. I was away in Maryland for college and everything, so I haven't quite. But every time I came back, usually he hosts poker games now with a lot of the alumni. And I'm a big poker player, so I'll go to those and talk to him. But I've mentioned multiple times, and my dad has even gone up to him and said to him, like, "You have no idea how much influence you've had over my son." So he
Right.
knows, but he's too humble about it. Like, and at the time, so that room, the AV room, specifically in the school, a lot of people who felt like they didn't belong would go there and would feel like they had some type of community. And he always made sure everybody was, comfortable, right? And he looked out after everybody. There's so many people who owe a lot to that man, and he will never, ever give himself any credit for it. But he's a smart guy, nicest dude, down to earth. Gave me a lot of advice as I started figuring my way out. But because of him, and because he got me learning very quickly on how broadcast cameras work, how video switchers work, how video production works. I mean, we were just filming plays at the time, so I said, "All right, I'll try that out." I like messing with cameras, and I knew right then this is what I like doing. So then the question became, okay, can I make a career out of this? Because you think once you get into making movies, everybody's assumption is always go to Hollywood. I don't want to go to Hollywood. I
Okay.
still don't want to go to Hollywood at all. But I found that you can make a living making independent films, even in my area, which would be considered Philadelphia. You can commercials, nowadays YouTube videos for different companies who are trying to have social media. It's like now it makes sense, and it was starting to get that way when I got into the industry.
Well, Philly has a lot of esports teams that you've been looking into, maybe trying to get into.
Yeah, well, that's the thing now too. Is like this
Like
was
for
right around
editing.
time when esports was on the rise. I'm a massive video gamer, so the first thing I did once I kind of wanted to learn editing and learn how video works was I was in the Call of Duty community. So this was when Black Ops 2, for any of my fellow gamers that there, was released. So that would have been my sophomore year of high school. And it's where I discovered gaming Call of Duty clans on YouTube. So FaZe Clan, Optic Gaming, Soar Gaming, Obey, Lucky 7, Devil. All those clans that were making, quick scoping, sniping montages to music and everything like that, right? So I'm like, I want to do that. I love the game. The game is one of my top 3 of all time. I grinded. I probably spent, I spent very many hours and met many of friends I still have today on that game. So I joined a clan that found me. I was like entering. How you would do it was all on YouTube, and you would try to get your name out there. You'd always enter these recruitment challenges. So and then this is when it exploded, this community. So there was a million clans. So I'd find one and I submitted a couple responses to these challenges, right? I was no good. But somebody did find me. And I joined a clan that had about, at the time, just past over 3,000 subscribers at that point, and I was editing for them. Within a couple of months, I became their lead editor, which this was not a paid gig. This was just completely for fun kind of thing. And I was basically editing for like 12-year-olds
for exposure.
Good at video games. Which some of the best clientele I've ever worked with.
12-year-olds.
Oh yeah, totally. I was 16 or so at the time. I mean, these were kids who were always just trying to get like, will you edit my montage, please? And I'm like, no, I'm busy. So I did that for a year or two. I was in that clan. It was called Bolo. I became their lead editor. And then I left for another clan called Sprint after I was getting frustrated with the leadership in that group. And then
the leadership of the 12-year-olds.
Oh, yeah, of course. And then I went solo and did a couple more edits and then ultimately left because it was just getting annoying at that point. But that led me to learning Sony Vegas and After Effects and a lot of the programs I use today. And then from there, I just kept expanding on things, got my subscription, bought myself a DSLR camera, and then ultimately decided to go to school for it. I had a couple of internships beforehand that I had through a high school internship program, and I was lucky enough to work with a really good producer who still hires me for things to this day because I did very well during my time with him. So I have a lot of connections now that I'm very lucky to have, and unfortunately with COVID, it's hard to kind of redeem on those things now and try to make more of opportunities for myself. But I also decided to go to college, and learn the craft, and I did.
Now, what is your major called?
So, and I mentioned it, but I actually came out with a Bachelor of Science degree in this, and they're changing it, my understanding, to a Bachelor of Arts degree for the next class. But I got a science degree, which is funny when you think about it. But it's called Film and Moving Image, is what they call it. You can actually see it's out of focus, but that's a diploma behind me. Graduated cum laude. I'm very proud of myself for that one. I did do it. Yay. I had wonderful professors, state-of-the-art facility, all the gear I could ask for. And most of my classmates were good people. And I'm friends with a lot of film majors to this day. And of course, met my beautiful significant other right here.
It's me.
2.5 years strong. And, the rest is history, and now I've done a lot of other creative projects since. I'm still in the YouTube space. Now I'm just trying to get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to figure out, if anybody's listening and would like an editor.
It needs an editor.
I'm your guy. I don't know if Fana will actually vouch for me here.
I'll vouch for you.
But
only a little.
I find myself pretty reasonable to work with. I can be, see, she laughs. She's the best woman ever.
This is not your platform to do a commercial.
But reasonable to work with, and I'll get your stuff done on time, and it'll look better than anything you could ever do. Anyway, I even came out of school with an award for excellence in editing, which that came from my professors, which I was
Round of applause.
very happy with. They were giving me pity for editing 3 senior films. Let's be real.
Yeah, and you're insane, but I'm proud of you because they all turned out beautiful.
Yeah, she did not like the idea that I was doing it because I was directing, editing my own alongside my one roommate, and then my 2 other roommates were doing separate projects, and I edited both of theirs as well. And
I just and you had an internship, and I just was afraid of you getting burnt out, but
I did it, and I'm
you
very proud of that work.
Yeah, as you should be.
But yeah, so now I'm doing it. I think we'll have a whole episode, I'm sure, on burnout, because we all experience it. But to this day, like my issue now that I have is that like my work and play are kind of the same thing, just because I'm so interested in continuously learning things. And again, another whole conversation too for me. And as I'm trying to continue my career, especially during a time of quarantine and COVID and remote work and everything like that, it's become hard for me to, to really break into the industry like I would like to and like I was planning to. But I'm staying resilient and still trying to do projects such as this. I have this podcast. I have another show that I'm working on. I've been live streaming on YouTube on my channel. And I probably have a third project, like some weird experimental thing that I'm planning out. Like, I'm keeping myself busy because I really don't think I have a stop button on me. I love being creative. I love what I do. I love learning new things. I love basically buying things just to break them and see what they're capable of doing. It never really stops for me. So that's how I kind of came to be. I know that was kind of long-winded. I didn't mean it to be, but that's me. I'm a filmmaker, and very happy that this is the path I've chosen.
Yeah.
How was that? Was that good? Was that a good speech?
That was beautiful. Inspirational.
I'm
crying.
Oh yeah.
Jotting it down for my poster.
Hang in there, the cat hanging from the tree.
Yeah. Just Bobby's face pasted on it. Like, I'm an editor, Mom.
I'm an editor. I did it.
But I guess it's it's kind of that terrifying, like, what do you want to be when you grow up type thing.
It is.
And I guess it's my turn to talk about how I decided my career path.
Yes. Very successful woman you are.
So successful.
You are.
So I have been a really avid reader since the age of 5. And I know that it was the age of 5 because I hated reading up until kindergarten, and my kindergarten teacher was like, kind of tricked me into it. And I was like, wait a second.
I know what you're doing.
I was like, why would I read if my mommy and daddy can do it for me? Like,
and you yell at me for being a prince?
Why?
Yeah. Why? Why do I have to put in the extra effort?
But then she led me to Fractured Fairy Tales, which, for people who might not know, is retellings of fairy tales in like weird, quirky ways, like Cinderella, but never how you've heard it before. So I found fairy tales, or the genre fantasy, and as you can tell, even today, that's carried into even my brand or my online persona of Fantasy Finder. My brand, my
shout out to that one Context commercial.
Well, Fantasy Finder has been my online entities for as long as I've been on the internet. Actually, I lied. Before that, my first online account of anything was a Webkinz account. And I remember my name was Violet Fairy. Like Violet like Fairy. The color.
And did that come from a Fractured Fairy Tale, or is that just like
no? It was because I was a sucker for Tinkerbell, and purple was a color that every kid knew. So I think Purple Fairy was taken. So I was like, my vocabulary is better than this. Violet Fairy.
Even though it probably was at that period of time, given what your vocabulary is now.
Honestly,
knowing you.
Or
in
you know
general.
what? I was smart enough to be able to Google a thesaurus. I knew what a thesaurus was at that time, and I was like, "All right, here we go, here we go."
Other words for purple, violet, even though they are literally two different colors.
Yeah, it's a shade.
Yeah, it's a shade.
But anyway, going back. So reading, fantasy. At a very young age, I started volunteering at my local library. And I remember for years they kind of dangled it in front of me that when I turned, it was either 12 or 14. I can't remember what it was, but when I turned 12 or 14, I could get hired as a page, which page like page in the book, but it basically was reshelving the books. Like, books are returned, you sort them, and you reshelve them properly. Which was exactly what I was doing as a volunteer. But I could get paid. And I was there consistently. I think it was Thursdays. I was there every Thursday for like 3 hours. Just shelving books, weeding the shelves. The children's librarian would like come up behind me and be like, "Are you busy?" And then I would find myself like testing the 500 markers in the craft bin to see how many had dried out. Or like, she once dumped this giant, like, tub of, yarn, balls of yarn that were all tangled from the craft closet. And, like, asked me to untangle them. Wow. And my little heart was like, absolutely. Because I was like, I had got to get this career goal of reaching 12 years old. And then as I got older and as I spent more time there, I then started doing more of helping the teen librarian as I started getting older. I think I actually took a break from the library for a year or so because I missed the page position. I think it got filled before me. Like, I didn't age adequately enough. Like, I was... someone else got the job before me because I wasn't old enough. I wasn't qualified, but I still was like so angry.
Let's say, was it soul crushing? Were you soul searching after that because you lost your purpose?
They didn't get it, or I didn't get it because it was like a discontinued position because volunteers like me were doing it for free.
Okay, gotcha.
And I don't know if it might be a thing nowadays, but I started helping the teen librarian with programs and such. And I wasn't officially on like the teen council, which a lot of libraries have. But I would help her a lot. And then as I got older, I started like working, so I stopped volunteering at the library. But at a very young age, I obviously knew I wanted to be a librarian. And then in high school, I stopped volunteering because I got too busy with high school and work. And I was taking college classes at my local community college. And I just got too busy for it. But I was doing a lot of my own creative things. Drawing and all that kind of stuff. But I'd always entertained the idea of, like, I'm going to become a professional artist. But I knew that, one, my art wasn't consistent enough to do it. And I did several commissions and such, but I also found that being paid to do something was nice, but also I didn't have the creative freedom that I wanted. And also, like, what if they didn't like it? Or I didn't like being told what to do.
Yes.
And so I knew that I didn't want to I did not want to make my hobby my career.
Yeah.
So as I got into high school, I started writing quite a bit. And I was like, I'm going to be a writer. And then I've always been very practical, and I feel like that's kind of stomped a little bit on my creative passions a little bit, because I was like, well, I can't make a living as a writer. That can be my dream job. I need to have a practical job to become the dream job.
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing. I think a lot of artists, people who want to get into creative fields, always know that they know that at least for a little bit in the beginning, they're not gonna be able to support themselves with what they would want to do. They're gonna have to get something that actually pays the bills and maybe leads them onto whatever their dream job might be.
Right, right. So, I don't know how I got to that. It must have been because I was writing so much, but I decided that I would become an editor. An editor for children's or young adult books.
Hmm.
And I, in my senior year of high school, I, with a friend, won a scholarship for creating a children's book. And I conceptualized it. I wrote up bullet points. My friend actually wrote the script. I edited it and then completely conceptualized, illustrated, storyboarded everything, this children's book, and we won. And it was published in our state and sent to the public libraries and I think public elementary schools. And I think that was kind of something in my head of like, I could do this. Like I could be,
yeah.
it was more of I can be in this field.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to pursue a English degree. And it's actually, I had several criterias with finding a college because I wanted it to be within like 2 hours, a 2-hour radius of my home. And I wanted it to be a smaller school and, obviously a certain price point and all this kind of stuff. And it's actually not as many schools offers English as a major. As you would think. Most do offer it as a minor, but majors are kind of hard to find. Or not as readily available as one would think, especially with my other criteria being stacked onto it.
Sure.
So I went to school or our college with in mind the idea that I would be a publisher or an editor for a teen or children's publisher.
Sure.
And as I took some more classes, and as I actually had an internship where I researched teen books, and I actually got a chance to go to several publishers and literary agents in New York City, and basically had to flat out say to their faces what they were...
Your book sucks.
What they were doing wrong in, like, the marketing and such.
Sure.
Which was terrifying. And it was terrifying because I was seeing these people who were my position, like what I had thought I had wanted to be. And I was like, I didn't
criticize them.
Right. As this like young, much younger than them. And I realized, and like, there was a couple editors that like really pushed back on me. And it was hard because it was like, well, I have numbers to back up what I'm saying. Like, I'm sorry. Right. Like, I have all these surveys. I have numbers. And it wasn't that, like, I never would have wanted someone like me to be talking to someone like them. But I began to realize, like, I don't want to work in a big city. I don't really want to be doing this. I want to do my own thing.
Live somewhere around the country.
Yeah. So I had a friend that wanted to be a librarian. And she was in my degree. She was she was a year ahead of me. And she wanted to be a librarian. And then I when we first started our friendship, I was like, it made me think about all those really passionate feelings I used to have. All of those, like, remembering volunteering and remembering helping with the children's programs and remembering just being part of a library community. Like, I went to the Friends of the Library events, which is basically a group of patrons that donate and fundraise a lot for libraries. I went to those events, and I was like, I love this kind of community, and I miss this. And I realized that being an editor wasn't for me. Like I enjoyed editing other people's things, but again, I didn't think the lifestyle I wanted necessarily fit with that, and it was no longer my passion.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I think I want to be a children's librarian, or I want to be a teen librarian. I guess youth librarian is more what I want to do.
Sure.
But I started saying to myself, I was like, I think I want to be a librarian again, because it's not like I switched because I was like, my friend wants to be a librarian, so I want to be a librarian. It was more of like hearing her. It made me remember. It's almost like I had forgotten that was my dream job for such a long time, and it almost was like, why wasn't it for a couple years?
Yeah, I remember when you had that transition over kind of back into wanting to be that librarian, because we were dating at the time, and it was interesting. Like it was like a sudden realization. You're like, yeah, I want to go back and do that. Like that seemed to be the most fulfilling thing for you when you're able to do those kinds of programs, and you know, even now as you've begun this job, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like everything you're doing means something to you, and you know, fills the spot in your heart that you need to fulfill.
Yeah, it was just kind of, and then God, I didn't have to switch my degree.
Yeah,
because this specific friend was actually a chem major her first semester, her first, I think, full year, and switched.
Wait, was she really?
Yeah, and switched to English.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she was a chem or biology. I think she was chem, but it's like she I think was a whole year behind, or at least a full semester behind. And like I at least didn't have to leave the faculty that I ended up absolutely adoring. I didn't have to leave my friends from the English department. I was still there, and my track, like the classes that I was taking, didn't really change that much either, because I had already been gearing towards children and youth in general. So I graduated with honors. I actually got an award from both my faculty, and I got an award from or I got a scholarship from the faculty like junior year, and then I also got an award from the university itself for like in creative endeavors and stuff, because as I was in the English department, I was like, if I'm here, I'm going to really invest into this. So I was asked to be part of the Dean's Advisory Board, where, you know, the Dean of the School of the Humanities, I sat in with her, and I was asked to be on open houses, like student panels, and they asked me to write the letter that was sent to both prospective and accepted English students, and I was asked to they wrote, and like the university itself wrote a there was like a whole photo shoot, and not interview, but like an article written about me for the website, which is crazy. And like when I hear it now and say it, it's like I did so much. I had 2 amazing internships. And I really enjoyed, not enjoyed per se, but I really got a lot of experience from college. And those connections that I made helped get me my current job. I was one of her assistants, and then she's my advisor, and she was a reference for this job that I have currently. I graduated a full semester ahead because I had taken community college classes in high school. And the day after I graduated in December, I had an interview lined up. And it was really scary because I wasn't even freshly graduated. I stepped off the podium or whatever and stepped into an interview room.
Yeah.
Which was terrifying. And I knew that, like, you know, we say, like, oh, well, you don't get the job because you lack of experience. It's like, okay, well, I need experience. Yeah, I need to get a job to get experience, do this. Like, I was so fresh. And I ended up, I didn't get, yeah, I was fresh meat, like the freshest of the fresh.
Yeah, like
day old, a baby graduate.
Ready to go into the big scary real world.
Yeah.
You ready for a big girl job?
Yeah. I ended up not getting that position, but they were very open with me about, it was a full-time children's librarian position, and it was at a small library, and it was like, you would be the children's librarian, like you would own this department. And I was like, well, crap. Yes, please. But I didn't end up getting it, but they were very honest with me, and they're like, you were our top choice until someone came in with a master's, which a lot of people don't realize. To get anywhere in the library field, or to get most places in the library field, you have to have a master's. And it's a master's in information and library science. So, I didn't get that position.
I learned it was a lot more convoluted than it sounds.
Yes. So I know that down the road, I'm going to need to get a master's. So that interview was in December. I didn't get it. I had another interview in February, where I had to like perform a whole children's program in front of 3 very high ups, which was kind of absolutely terrifying. But I didn't end up getting that position, and I was devastated because I'm very much someone who puts pressure on herself. Very much someone who really pushes and pushes and pushes, and feels like I obviously like just listed a whole bunch of my like accomplishments, and I felt like I was failing. Like, I have done so much, but I still felt like I was failing, and that was really hurting my own mental health. And then a couple months later, I got a call from the second job that I interviewed with, and they said the lady that got it over you originally is leaving, and we really fell in love with you, but she had more experience. We still loved you. Would you be interested? And I was just like, absolutely. And now I'm in my 3rd week of being a children's librarian. So it's amazing to think, like, in the meantime, I had been, like, doing a daycare position before COVID and such, so I was still working with children. But it's kind of amazing to, like, my dream job of being a children's librarian, I have 7 months after graduation. And, like, that's crazy. Like, it's not even that it was just a librarian's position, it was that specialized position that I wanted. I think my official title is, like, Youth Services Program Coordinator.
So official, and
I'm the children's librarian. But it's just really, it's hard too, because I know I need to get a master's. This is only a part-time position, so I know I need, as much as I am enjoying it there so far, they know and I know that I'm looking to go farther in the field and get a full-time position. So
determined.
Yeah. Well, also because I want to build that future life with you. And actually, my boss and I were talking about that today. She was basically talking about, like, what are your future plans? Like, what are you doing? And it's just like, well, I want to start working on a life with my boyfriend. And then it led into, like, oh, the boyfriend, ho ho. Like, so it was just kind of
the boyfriend, oh.
It was, like, I want that life for us. So I'm such a driven person. And it's like, and you have succeeded so much in life too. And I can't wait till we're both, like, established so that we can be established together, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a process. The problem that we're dealing with now is you've made a lot more headway in terms of getting to that end goal that we both have.
But I'm not at the end goal yet.
No, you're not, and I'm not even close. But you've definitely you have the seed planted to get there, and there's opportunities that I know that might be available to you soon in regards to getting to that point. But for me, I'm kind of just stuck at the moment because of how bad the job market is because of COVID. And so in my industry is, and I mean this not to look down, I guess, on what Fana here does, but 'cause she worked hard to get where she's at, and I'm very proud that she's finally able to do what she does. But there's a lot more volatility in my field compared to her. A lot of competition. Lots of jobs getting more and more available as online and social media presence has become such a big thing, and companies are looking to hire people like me. And it's hard to kind of break in without, I guess, just continuing to get better and learn things. Because I mean, I was being stubborn where I didn't really want to do more voluntary stuff. I wanted to find a job, right? But at the end of the day, I got to take some risks and just try to keep building the portfolio until something finally lands on my lap a little. Is basically what I got to do. I kind of have to weasel my way somewhere. Is basically the goal now. However that happens is to be determined. But I'm driven just like Fana is, in that we both want to build this life together, and I have to hold up my end of the bargain to make sure we get there. But it's a team effort at the end of the day.
Yeah,
a lot to go.
We'll get there together.
Yeah, it just, I know I'm a little slower in the race at the moment, and I'm not saying that to
but
attack myself. But you
also graduated after me. You graduated after me, and it's also like, and I think I described it pretty well when we talked about this last. Your field is much more highly competitive, so it's much hard. Like the pool is severely overfilled of very qualified people, of which you're just up there in the ranks. You're also up there. But the problem is that, like, yes, your field is way oversaturated, whereas my field is also very hard to get into because there's not that many positions in it. Because a lot of times, and it's funny because I was talking to my boss today, and she's like, there's actually quite a big turnaround in their county for teen library, like youth services. But unfortunately, my field is people like your stereotypical librarian is the little old woman that goes shh, and unfortunately, that stereotype, like, it's a field that people retire into, or retire out of. I guess like it is primarily older women too. It's a very female dominated field, and I guess it's also hard that like. I almost envy your position too, because you're done with school too.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I know that like yours is very much skill based as well. Like you can just hone your craft just by yourself. Whereas mine, it's going to be a lot of, or most, I would say 95% of libraries, you can never get to a managerial position. Not to say that I necessarily want one. But even if I wanted to be a full-time teen librarian, I need a master's. Like, a lot of applications won't even look at you if you don't have a master's. And I was very lucky to at least now how I have my foot in the door.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the hardest part, getting my foot in the door in this not intermediate, like this beginner level. But I'm already feeling the pressure of being so young. Because in my particular library, everyone else is that stereotypical older. And so when they found out my age, they're like, oh my gosh, like, you're a baby. And it's like, but I am. And I'm, hopefully they don't use that against me. I don't think they will, but it's like, it's different life experiences.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to struggle in my field is finding a lot of good friends close to my age. Not that like I'm already pretty friendly with my two main coworkers, even though they could be my grandmothers. But that doesn't change my relationship. But it's not like I think everyone hopes, like, when they first get a job, they'll, like, find friends that they can, like, go out with or hang with outside of work. And it's like,
yeah.
I have quite a big commute, but two, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think, though, one thing, like you said, you mentioned how you're schooling. So, yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to put yourself in even more debt to get your degree. But what I will say, depending on who you are, like what I might be looking at is not necessarily schooling, but I might need a couple years of more interning or volunteer work. I'm not sure. I might get lucky, but I may be looking at that because there's still a lot of looking at a freshly faced college student and hiring them on as a video editor. Like there's junior video editor positions, but there's not a lot of them. So typically you're looking at an internship 90% of the time, unpaid. So that becomes even more annoying. And again, I'm not trying to equate one to the other, but I am saying that we both have our entry hurdles that we have to get through to get to where we need to go. And it's annoying on both fronts. I've been complaining to Fana a lot more lately because it's been so frustrating trying to deal with people and get to, like, the issue I'm having at the moment is, like, I apply for at least 2 or 3 jobs every week, right? Like, and I'm trying to find them. They are starting to dwindle a little bit lately, and it's getting even more frustrating for me because the thing is, we're not, little more, pulling back the curtain on the two of us. We're not trying to go very far from where we're currently living. We have no desire of the LA life or any type of, not even like New York, any of that. I'm from the Philadelphia area, right over the bridge in South Jersey, and she's in Maryland, right kind of the tri-state area of Maryland, PA, and Delaware. And that's where our families are. And I want to stay by them and find work there. And it's possible. It's just going to be more of a pain in the butt to do so, So, since I'm trying to look in such a hyper-local area, the potential opportunities that I could go for are a lot less. And then those are, again, as Fana was kind of pointing out, are still highly competitive positions. And then we have to find a middle ground from wherever that is to figure out how we can both get to work in timely manners and come home, everything. So it's a pain, and there's a lot that we're trying to plan for and a lot that we're trying to do. And and especially now during, I keep using it as an excuse, but seriously, a global pandemic does not help matters. It's especially the deck is already stacked against people coming out of college.
It was already so hard for newly graduates anyway, and then COVID has completely destroyed most of their opportunities, unfortunately. Yeah. Here, at least, is a position that you can do remotely if needed as an editor.
And that's the thing. And that's something I'm trying to work towards. And, I have much bigger 10-year plans that I'm developing and trying to figure out. And I'm also, and I do want to poke you about this too, because, yes, you're creative in how you create your programs for these librarian, but that's not how you built your online presence, which I want to have you maybe describe a little bit if you're willing. But like the thing is, like, I don't think me and you will ever stop being creative behind what our jobs are. Like, even when we get together, hopefully this podcast is still going and hopefully we're still recording. And I don't think we're ever going to stop creating or finding new ways to be creative.
No. And like, I would still like to write books. Like, it's not as much of a prevalent thing anymore, but it's something I still want to do. So it's still that side gigs, my side hustle, if you will.
It's your side, sure.
But I think talking about creating or developing the Fantasy Finder brand is a whole thing in itself.
It is. But, if we're talking about how we kind of got to where we are, that is definitely kind of part of it, that you kind of expanded and taken a lot of inspiration from what you had when you were younger and kind of applied it to both your online brand as well as what you do for a living.
Yeah.
I would say. So, I mean, it's, it's tough where we're at now, but hopefully what you start to see as this podcast evolves is we actually maybe become successful people or maybe become successful artists. Look, I'm a nobody. I think I'm good at what I do, and I know I have no established name. I have, zero credibility to it, except that I think I'm good at what I do behind the scenes, but that's about all I got at the moment. And then I just need somebody to give me a chance and let me show them that, look, I'm good at what I do. I have all the confidence in the world of that, but just no one knows my name yet. People will,
but that's eventually. I know they will, and I want us to become established together and successful together. Yeah. But also I think what helps is your brand is you. Your brand is your name. Whereas me, yes, might have grown and developed the Fantasy Finder brand for years,
Mm-hmm.
but that is not going to help me in my current career path.
No, but it most certainly doesn't hurt either.
It doesn't hurt.
I think, I don't think you see, at least I see a lot of how you've done your voiceovers, a lot of how you've learned different styles of art and have displayed it on your channel over the years, I think has definitely helped in a lot of other areas of your life. Everything from your writing to how you talk, talking to children and talking how you do on your voiceover can be kind of one and the same at times, with especially with the tone you use, the type of vibe you want to give off on your channel, which is this really whimsical, inspiring fantasy type ordeal. And that's important for a child to understand. I think we're both believers in that, we want to let kids imagine and create things, because that's typically where the smartest kids kind of come from and the most creative kids kind of come from. And I think you have also just you've developed yourself on YouTube, and that's also led into how you are as a person and what values you want to give off for when you develop these programs that you're developing for these kids.
Right, and I'm not saying that Fantasy Finder, Fana Finder, whatever, whoever Fana is, it is me. It is still me. It's not a fake identity. It's kind of like that whole Grumble the Gremlin, like, are there multiple Grumbles to be different aspects of your creativity? Like, that's still Fantasy Finder is still a core part of me. And I don't know, it's interesting, but like, especially like skills that I've developed as Fantasy Finder have definitely helped in this career so far already. Like, because of COVID, we have to do pre-recorded digital story times. So I have learned my video recording, my voiceover, my editing skills. Like, I just used my editing skills that I learned to put the ABCs on the screen as I'm saying them. Like, it's skills that I've learned through Fantasy Finder, and I can't thank me enough for that experience. But
I was gonna say, especially now during a remote period where those types of videos and the engagement that you need to get out of kids in a remote setting, which is already difficult just by default, I think is definitely useful to you and could definitely help you in the long run.
Well, and also it's like, because I'm young, they're like, you could build our teen audience. I'm in a very tiny rural library. It's like, you can build our teen. I just today was like, do we have an Instagram? And my boss was like, maybe years ago, but we haven't developed it. I'm like, okay, well, I've been pretty actively posting on their Facebook, which is what they have, but kids don't use Facebooks, especially teens.
Instagram is definitely like the most marketable social media right now versus, besides TikTok. Honestly.
And I know how to use Instagram through Fantasy Finder. Yay!
Yeah, and you've and then, those who may only know you through YouTube or vice versa, like, you have a decent following on Instagram too. So you've built the audience before. You certainly could do it again for another thing if you so wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, it is skills that have developed me into the career.
It is.
Today. And I guess unless you had something else, I have one little question before I guess we wrap things up.
No, I mean, I would say, I think, you and Fan are one of the same, as like we were making the kind of, Grumble comment. I mean, aliases, are always kind of good to have, I think people know that if we're dating, I know I don't just call you Fana. Okay. Yeah. But that's, that's what you are.
But people
online.
do think that that's my real name.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people think that it's my name.
Pulling back the curtain a little bit and saying, hey, no, there's another name behind it. I mean, it's a cute name. That doesn't wouldn't steer me away from you if you were called Fana. But no, that's how you chosen to be online, and I'm respecting that. No rejection from me. I went by aliases during my Call of Duty days, and when your brand on YouTube was never your name, it was always a username. My very first, you probably could find the channel, but the
was
YouTube,
it Violet Fairy?
No, it was Hockey Kid 1022.
Whoa, that's almost as original as mine.
Yep, that was my original YouTube channel name, and I've gone off different aliases over that time, but ultimately my brand is what I'm selling, and I'm selling myself, and
And
I'm a
see,
lot of different things.
I decided early on that Fantasy Finder wasn't my career.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that like unfortunately for me, my hobby is my career.
You're so unfortunate. Poor unfortunate soul.
Well, I say, well, first of all,
sad,
yeah, I mean,
true.
I guess I should be a little more mindful for those who might take that as disparaging for people who might not be working in careers that they want to work in, but there is a bit of trade-off, and grass is always greener on both ends of the spectrum. Other careers I could have chosen and definitely could have excelled at would probably be paying a lot more and would probably have more opportunities for me. I might be working right now, but I wanted to be happy with the work I do and be satisfied with the work I do, as well as have a family life. And so I decided to still become a film major. I could always fall back on different things, but for me, it's just going to be more of a grind now to get to where I need to be. And the starting salaries for a lot of these jobs, not the greatest.
We will not be making money, honey.
Time. No, we're not. And that's fine. And we'll figure it out. And we'll always look. I've always said that, I've said this off air, but like I'll say it on air too, is that if I have to make a sacrifice to provide for whoever I have to provide for, I'll do so. Because at the end of the day, it has to stop being about me. It has to be about the people who I have to feed at home or help feed at home. And
me.
Yeah, exactly. And
feed me,
and look, I'll have to do what I got to do, but in the meantime, it's about me, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to get to where I want to get and figure out how to live off of it. But it's going to be a grind. It's going to take a lot of work, and my entertainment and my hobby is also my work. So unfortunately, I basically lock myself in this room and am here from whenever I wake up, which has been getting actually earlier for once.
I know.
Until whenever I go to bed, which has been not great. So I'm always working, basically. I'm always tinkering. I'm always figuring out new things. Like I think I'm at this point, and I was going to talk to you about this later, but I might as well say this on air. Like I'm even thinking about making some tutorials on some things because I think there's some things that I figured out that not a lot of people know, especially now during this remote setting. Like I'm ahead of this game. And that's part of the reason why I'm annoyed at these jobs.
I will own this turf.
I know better.
All.
I just know that, like, because I watch a lot of sports broadcasts, and they keep trying to do these panels from people who are at home still, and they look terrible. Now it's not really their fault, and there's technological caveats that I'm sure I don't know about, but I also know I can produce something a little bit better. So whenever there was a job that was looking for like remote broadcasting, and I somehow and I didn't get it. And I was annoyed at it because I was like, I know I can do better than whoever the hell got it. You know what I mean? So it's just, I know I'm rambling, but there's a lot that goes into this, and I'm happy to be in the position I'm in. I'm always going to have my frustrations, and I'm sure you'll hear about them if you stay subscribed to the podcast. If you ever want to hear me,
we're both pretty
rant.
vocal.
We are. We'll be nice, but we people, and we already are planning episodes where we're just going to rant about people the entire time.
Oh, is that what's going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
So when's my podcast just about all my problems with you?
You know what? I was going to say, do you want to do like a roast podcast where we just roast each other the entire time?
You would not win.
Oh, I know I wouldn't. Your vocabulary is better than mine.
Violet Fairy.
The only reason you would lose is because you would feel mean about one comment that you made that might have dug a little too deep, and
even my family's like, you're really mean to him. I'm like, no.
Because you are.
No, I'm not. It's just teasing. But anyway.
I know.
Closing question, I guess, question.
Sure.
Are you happy with your career choice? And your career path?
Yes, I am. It's hard to imagine me doing anything else. Because like I said, I lock myself in this room and I'm here for 16 hours a lot of the time, literally only leaving to go get food and maybe see my family that I'm living with, my parents and all that. And the stuff that I know and the stuff that I love playing with, being able or trying to get paid for that is still very appealing to me. And like I said, burnout happens. I've had some serious burnout. It really happened in college. before my senior year, but that's a whole other topic in of itself. And I'm sure I'll experience that a couple more times as I, get into, more consistent situations than what I'm currently in. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in what I do. There's a lot of ways to continue to be creative. And because I'm so invested into it, I don't think I'm ever going to lose my creativity or figuring out ways to be creative. Because even if I get a job that maybe, okay, I'm not working with content that I would want to work on, right? Like the dream for me when I was younger was when, I mentioned a lot of my early viewing experience on YouTube and all the various channels around. Back then there was Maker Studios. That was something I wanted to build in my town, where we basically just had a place where people would just go and be creative and we could do it full time. Mm-hmm. Like that's what it was. And that was like the first like big YouTuber studio, like Ray William Johnson was a part of it. I think they're defunct now, but that was something I always wanted to do. Like I want to continue to evolve and do things and have the resources to do so. And I know I'm not always going to have those things, but I'm always going to figure out a way to get those things or figure out ways to, just continue to evolve as a creator. That's why I'm doing like 3 different podcasts that I'm starting up and a weird experimental spoken word thing that's in the works at the moment. I don't want to reveal too much about, but that's the premise. And like, it's hard for me to stop doing what I do. And it's just too hard to imagine me doing anything else for a living at that point. Like, especially since I'm so, like, think about it. If I was an accountant, right, and you and me were living together, I would be like an accountant during the day and come home and then just be tinkering with stuff at night. It would almost feel limiting because I wouldn't be creating anything outside of one small room that I'm sure I'm going to have in our future household. You know what I mean? So at least, if I'm able to be creative during the day and then choose to do some side stuff at night that is in the same field, I'm totally fine with that. And maybe I have the opportunity to make my side stuff my main stuff. There's opportunity. I just got to take the time, take the risks necessary to get there. And I have a very supportive partner and Fana here that is allowing me to spread my wings a little, let me try to get where I want to get, and, smack me when I'm being stupid. But ultimately she's been the most supportive. She's listened to me rant and be frustrated at various different things over the years during this, because it's a collaborative field, and by God, there's some people you just don't want to be collaborating with. And, it doesn't get much better than that for me. So, I'm in the ideal situation. I know I'm dealing with some frustrations now, but I know it'll pay off one day. Yeah. So to answer your question, long story short, yes, I'm very happy with where I am. I'm very happy with my career choice, and I'm excited to see what happens moving forward, especially with you by my side with that.
No. Well, I mean, that was very beautiful, but I was looking for a yes or no answer, to be honest. And you did not give me that.
If if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to ramble. Like, it's just gonna happen. I can't help myself. I talk a lot. I didn't used to, but now I do. So this is built up of years of just silence.
Yeah, well, if you want to hear us talk again, I guess, or Bobby ramble some more, we are the Gremlin's Lair. You can watch. I guess you're the one who's been setting that up. So where can you find us, Bobby?
All right, currently, as of this recording, which I'm not sure when the release date is, so I'll act like I'll just have the information
today. You can find it on
today. It's on YouTube. That's where the video version is, and that's where. And honestly, at the moment, that's the only place we're at. I mentioned
as of today, we are posted on
my website and nothing else.
Okay. You play along so that people will know where we are.
Hypothetically, today we should be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and maybe a few others, but I don't know yet. I'm waiting for approval from those services, and I don't know when I'm going to get them. So hypothetically, by that point, we have them.
Hopefully, we're there.
Whether I do or don't, you can find out by going to the description, because if we're on there, hey, look, there's a link you can click and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting service. Or if it's not there, it'll probably say something like, keep
coming
waiting.
Soon.
Yeah, coming soon, hopefully.
Or
we're at the mercy of those services, though. Like we have the problem with podcast hosting is like you don't know if you're gonna get approved, and you don't know how long it's gonna happen. Apple took like 3 weeks for one of my older podcasts. So we have no idea. So yes, hypothetically, as of today, we should have it, but we don't know. So
we're gonna have it. And Bobby is a pessimist. And
yes.
And until then, if you want to subscribe to this channel, say hi to Grumble for us, and
he likes pats in the head.
Yeah. Let us know what you would like us to talk about down in the comments. Let us know what kind of stories you want to hear, or even tell us what your inner creative gremlin is saying right now.
And also, if you're enjoying, like, did you enjoy today's episode? Is there stuff you want to hear more about, you know, in regards to what we've talked about? You know, do we sound good? Do we look good? Are we camera ready?
I know we
audio
look good.
ready. So, that's true. But, you know, all feedback is welcomed. Just don't be an ass, and we'll get along just fine. That's how we'll do this.
Well, with those encouraging words, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you later. Bye.